some other parents or relatives came to see the children in the evening. Just they couldn't come in, but through the slit in the door, the back door of the barrack, they would whisper or talk, or or sometimes see them from. But my mother didn't come. So I assumed she was dead, because this was the law of the land. If you don't see the person, the person doesn't live. I mean, this is reality. So I didn't see my mother, so I started mourning for her, and I cried. My aunt came by. She brought me a piece of paper, a little note from my mother. And my mother had a very beautiful handwriting, so it was very distinctive, and it looked like my mother's handwriting. But I didn't believe her. I didn't think it was true. And I started crying, and I didn't participate in any activities like some of the children were playing Ring Around the Rosie or something. I didn't. I was just in the corner, isolated and crying. And I was very upset. And but the other children, they were very good. You see, we were lying. I was lying on the third tier, on the top tier, and we were lying like 9 or 10 in a row, and it was, like you had to lie, and one closest, we were lined up like sardines. Mm-hmm. So like, if you had to move, everybody had to move, or so on. Anyway, and every day somebody else had to make the bed, like just so it looks good and neat. They had an inspection every day, and so on. And one day it was my turn to make the bed, and all of a sudden my ankle bone twisted, jumped out from its socket or something, and I was in agony, and I couldn't make the bed. So one of the other children volunteered to do it for me, which was very nice of them, and I slowly, slid down to the ground, on the floor of the barrack, and later the bone jumped back, but just to show that other people, other people tried to help you out, mm-hmm. to cooperate in the small ways that they could. Anyway, I was getting sick, very sick, and I was very depressed. And there was a dentist from our town, Maria Halska, and my aunt knew her. She was her dentist, and she was in Auschwitz from before. But she was Jewish, but I guess she was caught as a Polish mm-hmm. person. So anyway, through her, they were able to take my cousin into the hospital barrack where my aunt was there and my mother. And then they were able to get me out also, because I was sick anyway, so they were going to send me there. But it was because we had the push, otherwise, they would kill you. And the same day when I got back to that barrack where my mother was, as I came in, it seems just a while before earlier, they took my mother out to send her on a transport. And my aunt saw that. She knew that I came, so she told me to go to the black Älteste, which was the woman who was in charge of the black, and to beg her to save my mother. I can't exist without my mother. So I went over to that black Älteste, and I guess I must have touched her heart, because she said, go and get your mother, she's in the showers. There was a shower block that was showers. And I went over to the shower block, and there were a lot of women there. It was crowded with women going on a transport. I found my mother, and I took her out. I told her that, the black Älteste said she can come back. And my mother came back with me, and I had her with me in the hospital barrack. And it was, the reality was that I still believed my mother was dead. So it took me a while to reconcile myself that my mother was alive, because I was so imbued with the idea of my mother not being here anymore. So it took me a while to just realize that this was really my mother.